Jake, I don't know how much you paid my mom to write that introduction, but I appreciate you giving it anyway. Why did you decide to run? Why now? And why not wait? This campaign's a little under 5 weeks old, and whether it was family and friends asking tough questions when the idea for this campaign came about, or it was people we've met along the way. Those are questions I get asked, questions I love to get asked, and questions, quite frankly, that should be asked of any candidate running for any office, from the State House to the White House. See, I believe there's two types of legislators in America. I believe there's politicians, and as Jake stole it, statesmen. The answer to those questions is the difference between the two. See, a politician is packaged. He runs because he can win. And when he does, he's worried about self-preservation. He votes with calculation, worried about the impact that vote has on his career and where he wants to go. Statesman's different. Statesman runs because he's real. Statesman runs when people tell him it's going to be hard. He runs because he believes in something. When he wins, he's not worried about self-preservation. He's worried about preserving the rights of the people he represents. And his votes are calculated, but it's not the impact on his career that he's worried about. It's the impact on the people back home. So why'd I run? What made me decide to run at this point? The only way I can be guaranteed, the only way that I know that the district I grew up in can be represented by somebody that's willing to take a fight to people, that's willing to stand up and not back down, that's willing to advocate for core conservative values, to step up and run myself. Because we've heard politicians time and time again, lower taxes, less government, more freedom. They all say it. They win, and then they get to Tallahassee, and we see something totally different. I'm running so that my family and the people that grew up in this district with me don't have to worry about that. And why now? I truly believe we're in some of the most politically defining times our country's ever seen. We're at a crossroads, and never before have our core values been so much in question. Are we going to go the route of big government, or are we going to return to the promises of individual liberties and limited government that made us great? See, at some point we're going to sit back and we're going to watch these people grabbing power from we the people and turn around and say, what happened to the America we knew? Why not wait? The people trying to take power away from us, the people trying to put power in the hands of government, they're moving faster than ever before. And they're doing it on purpose because they know if they enact certain policies, they can do damage that will take us generations to undo. If they're not going to wait, if they're going to move fast, why aren't we? We've got issues in this state before us that if we don't address, it's going to be too late. We don't have time to wait. We've got an economy that, since we became a state, we relied on population growth. More taxpayers means more tax dollars. And this past year, for the first time in our state's history, we had more people leave the state of Florida than come. If we don't become a forward-thinking people, if we don't look at resources and find a way to build an economy that's built on something more than the number of people within our borders, we're going to see the same budget shortfalls we're looking at right now. The foundation to an economy starts with making this a job-friendly place, a place where businesses can come, want to come, and can thrive, not by worrying about the number of people we're bringing in. We've got to stop the attack on small businesses. When you look at unemployment taxes, raising overhead exponentially. When business owners are put in the situation of either lowering their revenue or firing employees, it's a problem. When corporate taxes are set in a place that businesses don't want to come here, and that the businesses here are thinking about leaving, we've got a problem. We've absolutely got to stop punishing the successful because it's the successful that create jobs. It's the successful that create an economy for everybody else. But it's not just the economy we've got to address right now. America's the only place in the world that you can be born the child of immigrants, come from nothing, get an education, learn basic life skills, and live what we all know is the American dream. But if we don't stop indoctrinating our youth and start educating them, if we don't stop teaching children how to think, what to think instead of how to think, we're going to lose an entire generation that doesn't have the ability or the knowledge or the skills to live what we've all been so blessed to experience. in order to provide educational opportunities for kids from all walks of life, we've got to be committed to school choice, whether that's public, private, or alternative. But before we can address any of these issues, we've got to get back to a commitment of responsible and conservative, efficient government. Perhaps more than ever, we're seeing government grow at a rate bigger, faster, and larger than ever in our history. There are those in leadership right now that believe they can run your business, raise your family, and spend your money better than you can. That's against everything this nation was founded on. And it's against everything this campaign's about. I'm not saying that government doesn't have a role in our lives, because it does. And whether it's infrastructure to protection, it has a role to play. But government's role in our lives isn't to run our lives, it's not to rule our lives, it's to complement our lives. See, it's not my job as a representative to go to Tallahassee to create policy or vote for legislation that tells you how to run or raise or spend. It's my job as a representative to go to Tallahassee and make sure that nobody else does. And that's what this campaign's about. We've heard a lot about this notion of spreading the wealth, and regardless of what you think about it, there's certain realities that you have to accept as fact. Government can't give anything to anyone without first taking from somebody else. When somebody receives something for doing nothing, somebody else does something and receives nothing. And when we get to a point where one half of society believes that they don't need to work because the other half is going to provide, and the other half of society believes that it's no longer worth it to work because they're not going to receive what they worked for. Incentive is gone, jobs are lost, and an economy begins to crumble. You can know that wherever this campaign goes and wherever this road leads, that our team is absolutely committed to making sure we never support that kind of life. That's not the only thing we're willing to promise. I can commit to everybody in this room tonight that my yeses will always be yes, and my no's will always be no. That I'll be strong enough to compromise when I need to, and strong enough not to compromise when I don't. I can commit to look at every single piece of legislation that comes across and apply the core conservative principles that I believe in to every piece of legislation. And most importantly, that I'll listen. Because the number one job description of a representative is someone who will listen. I don't see the issues on a daily basis. I don't know your business like you do. But it's not my voice that needs to be heard in Tallahassee. It's yours. It's not my vote that needs to be made in Tallahassee. It's yours. Sometimes that means I have to get loud. Sometimes that means I have to cause a stir. Sometimes that means I have to sit quiet. Sometimes that means I have to let a vote speak to itself. And that's a commitment I'm willing to make. So we've hit this point where government doesn't trust us. They can do it better. They can do it more efficiently. We can't be trusted. It's their job to protect us. We can't be left alone to make our own decisions, because if left alone, we the people is too stupid. I'm not asking you to trust government, because I don't. I'm asking you to trust me to keep government out of your way, to make sure that you can do what you do better than anybody without government interference. And for us to make that happen, we're going to need continued support. And for those of you that showed up tonight when you could be so many other places, thank you. This turnout is absolutely humbling to our entire team. To those of you who gave financially to get this campaign off the ground, committing to be on the host committee, volunteering your time, thank you. I look forward to seeing where this campaign goes and speaking with all of you, but more than anything, I can't thank you enough for giving of your time to come out and find out what this campaign's about. Thank you.